Here's something that might surprise you. Plain water isn't always the best way to hydrate your body. Now, before you think I've lost my mind, let me explain, because this is one of those truths that sounds wrong right up until the moment it clicks. When you sweat, and during these hot months you sweat far more than you realize, you don't just lose water, you lose minerals. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, the very electrolytes your body depends on to keep your heart beating steadily, your muscles firing, and your energy up. And when you chug plain water all day without replacing those minerals, you can actually dilute what's left, which is exactly why some days you drink glass after glass and somehow still feel drained, foggy, and thirsty. And here's the part I find genuinely beautiful. Your ancestors understood this without a single laboratory or a sports science degree. Roman soldiers marched on a vinegar drink. American colonists worked through brutal summer harvests on a ginger spiked concoction. Turkish shepherds crossed scorching plains on a salted yogurt drink. Farm families handed switchel up to the hay wagon long before anyone had ever heard the word electrolyte. They didn't have the science, they had the results, tested across centuries of hard labor under a hot sun. And modern research, catching up at last, has confirmed that many of those old drinks genuinely do hydrate better than plain water alone. So today, I'm counting down 20 natural drinks that hydrate you faster and more completely than plain water, using things you can find at any grocery store, grow in a garden, or mix up in your own kitchen for pennies. No neon colored sports drinks, no mystery powders, no marketing, just real ingredients and the wisdom of generations, now backed by real studies. And stay with me, because number 12 is the one that genuinely surprised scientists when they put it head to head against commercial sports drinks in the lab. And I'd bet money it's already sitting in your kitchen right now. But before we begin, do me one small kindness that helps me a great deal. Leave your like here on the video, because that's how this knowledge reaches more people sweating through these hot months. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. And tell me down in the comments what city and state you're watching from and how old you are, because I read every single comment and I truly love knowing who's here with me. Deal? Then let's start the countdown. Number 20, cucumber water, nature's spa in a glass. This one is beautifully simple. Slice half a cucumber into a pitcher of water, let it sit for a couple of hours in the refrigerator, and you've created something genuinely better than plain water. Cucumbers are about 96% water themselves, but that last 4% is where the quiet magic lives: potassium, magnesium, and a trace mineral called silica that supports your connective tissue and skin. The infusion draws those minerals into the water along with a clean, fresh flavor that makes you want to keep drinking. And that last part matters more than people think. One of the biggest obstacles to staying hydrated is simple boredom, because plain water gets monotonous, and people quietly stop drinking it without noticing. Cucumber water solves that problem for pennies. It's also wonderfully gentle, with nothing to upset the stomach, no sugar, and no acid, which makes it something you can sip all day long, every single day of the season. Keep a pitcher going in the refrigerator, topping it up as you pour, and you'll drink noticeably more without even trying. A humble start to our list, but a genuinely useful one. And from the spa glass, we move to a berry red tea with a surprising resume. Number 19, hibiscus tea, the crimson cooler. Steep dried hibiscus flowers in hot water, chill it down, and you get a gorgeous ruby red tea with a tart, cranberry like brightness across West Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America. Hibiscus coolers have been the traditional answer to brutal heat for centuries, from Agua de Jamaica in Mexico to Bissap in Senegal. Entire cultures independently reaching for the same crimson flower when the temperature climbed. That's not coincidence, that's accumulated wisdom. Beyond hydration, hibiscus brings small amounts of minerals and a healthy dose of antioxidants. And research has found it may help support healthy blood pressure, which is one of the reasons it's been studied so seriously in recent years. It's naturally caffeine free, so it cools you down without winding you up, and its tartness makes it wonderful over ice with a touch of honey. One honest caution here, though, because hibiscus can genuinely influence blood pressure. Anyone on blood pressure medication should check with their doctor, and it's generally not recommended during pregnancy. For everyone else, it's a beautiful, time tested cooler. And from a flower, we turn to the juice of a fruit your grandmother already trusted for other reasons. Number 18, watermelon juice, summer's answer to the sports drink. Blend fresh watermelon chunks, strain if you like, and you have one of the most naturally hydrating drinks on the planet. Watermelon is about 92% water, but it carries real payload, potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, and an amino acid called citrulline that researchers have studied for its role in supporting blood flow and easing post exercise muscle soreness. Athletes have started drinking watermelon juice after training sessions for exactly that reason. Think about that for a second. The fruit at every church picnic and family reunion for the last 100 years turns out to be a legitimate recovery drink. Your great grandparents handing out watermelon slices to field workers on a July afternoon weren't just being kind. They were, without knowing the biochemistry, administering fluid, sugar for energy, and electrolytes in a single package. The old ways keep turning out to be the right ways. Serve it cold, drink it fresh, and don't strain out all the pulp, because that's where some of the good stuff rides. And from the picnic table, we move to a drink with actual military history. Number 17, Pasca, the Roman soldier's secret. This one is ancient, and I mean genuinely ancient. Roman soldiers marched thousands of miles on a drink called pasca, watered down vinegar, sometimes with a bit of honey and herbs. It sounds strange to modern ears, but the legions swore by it, and Roman commanders made sure barrels of vinegar traveled with the army. A modern version is simple: a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a tall glass of water with a teaspoon of honey over ice. Why did it work? The acetic acid gives the drink a bite that stimulates thirst, encouraging soldiers to drink more fluid overall, and the honey added quick energy plus trace minerals. There's also emerging research interest in vinegar's role in supporting healthy blood sugar responses. But mostly, Pasca solved the same problem cucumber water solves. It made water interesting enough that tired, hot men actually drank enough of it. 2,000 years later, that principle hasn't changed a bit. Dilute it well, always, because straight vinegar is hard on tooth enamel. And from the Roman roads, we jump to the American hayfield. Number 16, Switchel, the haymaker's punch. Before commercial sports drinks existed, American farm families had already invented their own, and honestly, they may have done it better. Switchel, water, apple cider vinegar, ginger, and molasses or maple syrup, mixed in a jug and hauled out to the fields during haying season. They called it haymaker's punch, and it fueled some of the hardest physical labor this country has ever known, generation after generation, long before anyone could explain why it worked. But look at what's actually in it, because it's brilliant. The molasses brings potassium, iron, and magnesium, real mineral content, not trace amounts. The vinegar adds that thirst-stimulating tang. The ginger settles a heat-stressed stomach, which anyone who has worked in real heat knows is half the battle. Water, minerals, a little sugar for energy, and a digestive aid, all in one jug. That's a complete rehydration formula, engineered by trial and error in farm kitchens over 2 centuries. Mix a batch, 4 cups water, 2 tablespoons vinegar, 2 tablespoons molasses, a teaspoon of grated ginger, chilled. Your great great grandparents drank this, and modern homesteaders are bringing it back for good reason. And from the hayfield, we cross the ocean to a drink that's fed civilizations for millennia. Number 15, coconut water's ancient cousin, barley water. Long before bottled drinks, cultures from Britain to India boiled barley in water, strained it, and drank the cloudy liquid, often with a little lemon and honey. Victorian nurses gave it to patients. Indian households still serve it in summer. Wimbledon has served a version of it since the 1930s. Barley water carries B vitamins, selenium, magnesium, and soluble fiber, making it as much a gentle food as a drink. The soluble fiber slows how fast the fluid moves through you, which means you actually retain more of the hydration instead of just passing it through, and that steady, sustained absorption is exactly what you want on a long, hot day. It's also famously easy on the stomach, which is why it was the traditional drink for the sick and the elderly. Simmer half a cup of pearl barley in 4 cups of water for 20 minutes. Strain, add lemon and a touch of honey, and chill. Mild, gentle, quietly effective. The kind of drink nobody advertises because nobody can charge much for it. And from the sickroom staple, we go to the garden's most generous herb. Number 14, mint water, the cooling illusion that isn't. Muddle a handful of fresh mint leaves into cold water, and something interesting happens. The drink genuinely feels colder than it is. That's the menthol activating the same nerve receptors that sense cold. And while that sounds like a mere trick, it has a real effect because feeling cooler lowers your stress response in the heat, and a calmer body manages its fluid better. On top of that, mint gently aids digestion and settles the stomach. Here's the deeper principle again. Any flavor that makes you drink more water is doing real hydration work. Mint grows so aggressively that gardeners complain about it, which means an endless free supply of a premium drink flavoring all season long. Crush the leaves slightly before adding them because that releases the oils. Add cucumber slices, and you've combined 2 entries on this list into something a fancy spa would charge $12 for. And speaking of things that grow for free, our next drink comes from a tree your grandparents would recognize instantly. Number 13, fresh lemonade, the old porch standby, done right. Real lemonade, and I mean fresh lemons, water, and far less sugar than the powdered stuff, is legitimate hydration science hiding behind nostalgia. Lemons bring vitamin C and potassium, and the modest sugar isn't just for taste. A small amount of glucose actually helps your intestines absorb water and sodium faster. That's the same principle behind medical rehydration formulas used worldwide. The porch lemonade of 1950 was quietly using the same mechanism. The key is restraint. Commercial lemonade is basically soda, but a homemade version with the juice of 3 lemons, 4 cups of water, and just 2 tablespoons of sugar or honey hits the sweet spot, enough to aid absorption, not enough to work against you. Add a tiny pinch of salt, an old Southern trick, and you've essentially built a natural oral rehydration solution on your kitchen counter. Your grandmother squeezed lemons on hot afternoons because it worked, and the science just took a century to explain her. And now we arrive at the drink I promised you, the one that genuinely surprised the researchers. Number 12, coconut water, the one that stunned the scientists. Here it is. When researchers finally put plain coconut water head to head against commercial sports drinks in laboratory studies of rehydration after exercise, the results raised eyebrows across the field. The clear liquid from inside a young green coconut rehydrated athletes comparably to the engineered lab formulated sports drinks, and some participants found it easier on the stomach. A fruit matching the product of decades of sports science straight off the tree. The secret is coconut water's natural electrolyte profile. It's remarkably rich in potassium, more than most sports drinks contain, with meaningful magnesium and a little natural sodium and sugar. Pacific Island cultures have known this forever. Coconut water was so trusted that in wartime emergencies, it was famously used in field hospitals when supplies ran short. For everyday people sweating through summer, a glass of plain, unsweetened coconut water after yard work replaces what you lost with almost nothing artificial along for the ride. Two honest notes here. First, read labels, because many bottled versions add sugar and you want the plain, unsweetened kind. Second, that generous potassium content means people with kidney problems whose bodies can struggle to clear excess potassium should talk with their doctor before making it a habit. For everyone else, this is nature's sports drink, no laboratory required. And from the tropics, we head to the Ottoman Plains for a drink most Americans have never tasted. Number 11, Ayran, the shepherd's salt yogurt secret. Across Turkey and the Middle East, working people have cooled themselves for centuries with Ayran plain yogurt whisked with cold water and a pinch of salt. It sounds unusual to American taste, but consider what it delivers. Fluid, sodium to replace what sweat takes, protein to steady your energy, calcium, and live probiotic cultures for the gut. Shepherds crossing hot plains lived on this. Ottoman soldiers carried it. It remains one of Turkey's most beloved drinks to this day. The salt is the genius stroke. Sweat is salty, you can taste that yourself, and plain water replaces none of it. Ayran restores that sodium in a form gentle enough to drink all day. Whisk half a cup of plain yogurt with a cup of cold water and a small pinch of salt until frothy. It's tangy, savory, and strangely refreshing once your palate adjusts, and it doubles as a light snack. And from the salted yogurt of the Ottomans, we move to its sweet and sour American cousin, one that fueled barn raisings across this country. Number 10, shrubs, the colonial drinking vinegar. Before refrigeration, Americans preserved summer fruit in vinegar and sugar, creating concentrated syrups called shrubs, and a spoonful stirred into cold water made a sweet tart drink that colonists sipped all summer. Berry shrub over ice was the iced tea of the 1700s, and it works for the same reasons Posca and Switchel work. The acidity drives thirst and keeps you drinking, the fruit brings potassium and vitamins, and the small sugar assists absorption. Making one is a lovely weekend project. Equal parts crushed berries, sugar, and apple cider vinegar, steeped a few days in the refrigerator, then strained into a syrup that keeps for months. 1 or 2 tablespoons in a tall glass of ice water makes a drink with genuine complexity, sweet, sharp, and fruity all at once. Colonial housewives were bottling hydration science and calling it thrift. And from the colonial pantry, we return to the modern kitchen for the drink hiding in your refrigerator door. Number 9, pickle brine, the leftover that outperforms. Don't pour that pickle jar down the drain. Athletes and old farmers alike have sworn by small amounts of pickle brine for muscle cramps, and studies have found that a few ounces can ease exercise-induced cramping remarkably fast, faster, in fact, than plain water. Researchers believe the vinegar triggers a nerve reflex that calms the cramping signal, on top of the sodium replacing what sweat lost. Notice the pattern, the old-timers were right again. Farmhands drinking pickle juice on hot afternoons weren't being strange. They were self-medicating effectively with what the kitchen offered. Now, moderation truly matters here because brine is very high in sodium. A few ounces after heavy sweating or during a cramp is the traditional dose, not a tall glass. And anyone watching their sodium or blood pressure should be cautious with this one. But as a targeted tool on a brutal day, the humble pickle jar earns its place on this list. And from the briny end of the spectrum, we swing to one of the gentlest drinks ever poured. Number 8, herbal iced teas, the caffeine-free coolers. Chamomile, rooibos, lemon balm, rosehip, brewed strong, chilled, and poured over ice, these caffeine-free herbal teas hydrate essentially as well as plain water while adding antioxidants and gentle plant compounds. And the caffeine-free part matters because caffeinated drinks in quantity have a mild diuretic effect, while these give you all fluid, no trade-off. Rooibos in particular carries minerals, and has been a staple in hot southern Africa for generations. The real advantage is variety. Different flavors through the day keep you reaching for the glass, and every glass counts. Rosehip brings a bright tartness and vitamin C. Lemon balm adds a soft citrus calm that's lovely in the evening. Brew a big jar in the morning sun the way grandmothers made sun tea, chill it, and you have an all day supply of interesting, effective hydration for the cost of a few tea bags. And from gentle teas, we move to a drink that's basically a garden in a glass. Number 7, fresh vegetable juice, drinkable minerals. Tomato, celery, cucumber. A little carrot, fresh vegetable juice is one of the most mineral dense drinks you can pour. Celery is naturally rich in sodium, real food form sodium, and tomatoes bring generous potassium, which is exactly the sodium potassium pair your body sweats out all day. This is why old fashioned tomato juice was a farmhouse staple, and why a well made vegetable juice is closer to a rehydration formula than most people would ever guess. The one warning is store bought versions, which are often loaded with added salt far beyond useful levels, so look for low sodium options or better, make your own if you have a juicer or blender. A simple tomato celery cucumber blend with a squeeze of lemon tastes like summer and delivers fluid, electrolytes, vitamins, and antioxidants in one glass. It's the savory answer to fruit juice, and your muscles will notice the difference. And from the vegetable patch, we turn to a golden liquid with an ancient sporting pedigree. Number 6, honey water, the original energy drink. Ancient Greek athletes drank honeyed water before competing in the original Olympic Games. That's not legend. Honey was the sports fuel of the ancient world. A tablespoon of raw honey dissolved in warm water, then chilled, creates a lightly sweet drink that provides quick, natural energy and, crucially, that same small sugar assist to water absorption we keep encountering. Glucose helping your intestines pull fluid in faster. Raw honey also brings trace minerals, enzymes, and antioxidants that refined sugar entirely lacks. Add a squeeze of lemon and a pinch of salt, and you've built, again, a homemade oral rehydration drink from 3 pantry staples. One firm safety note that never gets skipped in this house: honey is never given to babies under 1 year old in any form, full stop. For everyone else, honey water before yard work on a hot morning is a 2,000-year-old performance secret that still holds up. And from ancient Greece, we travel to the orchards for the drink of the American autumn, reborn for summer. Number 5, diluted apple cider, the orchard's electrolyte. Real apple cider, the cloudy, unfiltered kind, cut half and half with water, makes a hydration drink our ancestors reached for constantly. Apples bring potassium and quick natural sugars, and diluting the cider tames the sweetness down to exactly the range where it helps absorption rather than hindering it. Full strength juice is actually too sugary for optimal hydration, which is a mistake most people make daily. Cutting it with water is the old fashioned fix that modern science endorses. Cold, half diluted cider with a pinch of cinnamon on ice tastes like an orchard in a glass, and children will drink it happily all day, which makes it one of the easiest ways to keep kids hydrated without resorting to neon colored bottles from the store. The same trick works with grape juice or any real fruit juice, half water, and suddenly the sugar level lands right where hydration science wants it. Our great grandparents drank watered cider not because juice was scarce, but because generations of experience had taught them the proportion. And now into the final 4, starting with the tea that fueled the American South. Number 4, sweet tea's smarter cousin, lightly sweetened green tea. Iced tea is the South's traditional answer to heat, and there's real wisdom in it. But classic sweet tea carries a heavy sugar load. The smarter version, green tea, brewed and chilled with just a touch of honey. You keep the ritual and the refreshment while gaining green tea's celebrated antioxidants, which support the body under heat stress, and dropping the sugar down into the helpful range instead of the harmful one. Green tea does carry some caffeine, less than coffee, and at a glass or two, the fluid gain far outweighs the mild diuretic effect, so it counts solidly toward your hydration. Brew it, chill it, add lemon and the smallest touch of honey, and you have a drink that respects both your grandmother's iced tea pitcher and the last 30 years of nutritional research. It's tradition, upgraded, and from the tea pitcher, we move to the one dairy drink that beats sports drinks in rehydration studies. Number three, milk, the barnyard surprise. This one startles people, but hydration researchers have repeatedly found that plain milk rehydrates the body as well as or better than commercial sports drinks, and better than plain water in head to head studies. The reason is its complete package: fluid, natural sodium and potassium, protein, and a little sugar, released steadily as it digests, so the fluid stays with you instead of passing straight through. Farm families drinking milk after haying were once again doing the optimal thing without a single study to guide them. Cold milk after hot outdoor work replaces fluid, minerals, and gives your muscles protein all at once, which is why researchers now discuss milk seriously as a recovery drink for athletes. If regular milk sits heavy on you, kefir, the fermented cousin, offers the same package with probiotics and is often gentler to digest. Either way, the humble glass from the barnyard outperforms the neon bottle from the checkout aisle at a fraction of the cost. And that brings us to the final two, where the simplest ideas finish strongest. Number two, fruit-infused water, the endless pitcher. Take the cucumber water idea from number 20 and open it wide: strawberries and basil, orange slices and blueberries, peach and mint, lemon and ginger. Any fruit, any herb, steeped a few hours in cold water, releases flavor, trace vitamins and minerals, and transforms plain water into something you actually look forward to drinking. Families who keep an infused pitcher in the refrigerator reliably drink more all day without thinking about it. That's the whole secret hiding inside half this list. So let me say it plainly: the best hydration drink is, above all, the one you'll actually keep drinking. Flavor is not a luxury, it's the mechanism. An infused pitcher costs pennies, uses fruit that might otherwise go soft on the counter, looks beautiful on the table, and quietly doubles a family's water intake. Rotate flavors with the seasons, and it never gets old. And now, the number one spot, and it belongs to a recipe your ancestors would recognize instantly. Number one, the homemade electrolyte drink, the old formula made new. Here it is, the drink that ties this entire list together: 4 cups of water, the juice of 2 lemons, 2 tablespoons of honey, and a quarter teaspoon of real salt, preferably a mineral rich sea salt. Stir, chill, drink, that's water, potassium and vitamin C from the lemons, glucose from the honey to speed absorption, and sodium to replace what sweat takes. It is, almost exactly, the oral rehydration formula that modern medicine considers one of the great health advances of the last century, and it's also, almost exactly, what farm families were already mixing generations before the science existed. Switchel, Posca, honey lemon water, salted lemonade, every tradition on this list was circling this same recipe, each culture finding its own path to the same combination of fluid, salt, and a little natural sugar. Your ancestors didn't have the term electrolyte. They had the formula anyway, tested in hayfields and on marches and across scorching plains, refined by nothing more than what kept people strong. When the laboratory finally caught up, it discovered the farmhouse had been right all along. Mix a pitcher of this before your next long, hot day outside, and you're drinking the entire history of human hydration wisdom in a single glass for about 50 cents. So let's step back and see the whole picture, because there's one thread running through all 20 of these drinks. Plain water is good, but water plus minerals, a touch of natural sugar. And a flavor that keeps you sipping is better, and your ancestors figured that out centuries before the first laboratory ever opened its doors. The Roman soldier, the Turkish shepherd, the colonial housewife, the farm family in the hayfield, they were all solving the same problem with the same principles. And modern science has spent the last few decades essentially confirming their kitchen wisdom, one study at a time. And notice what none of these drinks require: not one neon label, not one mystery powder, not one $8 bottle. Everything on this list comes from the grocery store, the garden, or the pantry for pennies a glass. The knowledge was never lost. It was just drowned out for a while by louder marketing. And the wonderful thing is that you can bring any of it back this very week with a pitcher, a lemon, and 5 minutes. Now, I want to be completely honest and responsible with you before we close, because it matters. I am not a doctor, and this video is not medical advice. Everything here is general information about traditional drinks and hydration, and it is not a substitute for a consultation with a qualified health professional. Some of these drinks come with real considerations. Coconut water's potassium matters for anyone with kidney problems. Pickle brine's sodium matters for anyone watching blood pressure. Hibiscus deserves a doctor's check for those on blood pressure medication or during pregnancy. And honey is never for babies under 1 year old. If you have any health condition or take any medication, please talk with your doctor before making changes. And if you're ever dealing with serious dehydration, with dizziness, confusion, or an inability to keep fluids down, that is a medical situation, and the right answer is professional care, not a kitchen recipe. So here's my simple invitation: pick just one drink from this list and make it this week. Brew the hibiscus, mix the switchel, stir up that number one formula before your next hot afternoon outside. Your body will feel the difference, and you'll be carrying forward a piece of wisdom that took humanity centuries to perfect. If this video taught you something, do me a kindness and leave your like, because it genuinely helps this knowledge reach more people sweating through the season. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And tell me down in the comments, which of these did your family already make? What city and state are you watching from? And how old are you? I read every single comment, and the stories you share teach all of us. Thank you for spending this time with me. Stay cool out there, and I'll see you in the next video.